Excellent. All right. Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for our neuroscience session today. Before we jump in, I just want to say that if you have any questions at all and you'd like an answer, we can use the Q&A feature on the right-hand side of the presentation space. So if you have any questions, pop them into the Q&A, and I'll try and answer them there during the presentation. And with that, I'll turn things over to Dr. Patterson. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks, Millie. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I know you're probably having a very busy and chaotic day, so I appreciate you taking the time to spend a couple minutes with me today. I'm going to kind of give you a general overview of neuroscience at Carleton. I'll talk a little bit about the two programs that we offer, and then we can kind of go through, why I think our program is really awesome and some, cool features of our program that that students really enjoy and find fun. So before I get in, I just want to reiterate what Millie said. Please, if my main objective today is to answer any of your questions. So please don't hesitate. Don't feel shy to interrupt me. You won't insult me in any way. Really, my mission is to make sure that all of your questions go unanswered. So please feel free to pop your questions in, and then we can also chat more about your questions after the presentation. So I'll just go through. This is a bit of an overview. So what is neuroscience? I find this question harder and harder to answer as the field of neuroscience continues to evolve. But we'll talk a little bit about what neuroscience is. We'll introduce our undergraduate programs. I'm sure many of you kind of know or are maybe have an offer or are interested in some specific programs. So I'll just kind of highlight some of the fine details of our programs. What makes Carleton Neuroscience so unique and special. So I'll kind of highlight some of our strengths. I'll highlight some of our students and faculty members in our department. And then we can, talk about expectations, potential careers after you graduate from our programs, etc. So it should be pretty easy and straightforward. So what is neuroscience? So neuroscientists are interested in the physical nervous system, how it develops, how it works, how it adapts, probably most importantly, what happens when things go wrong. So our program is set up in a way that, right in first year, we start talking about various neurological or neuropsychiatric diseases. And we really kind of zoom into the brain and try to figure out what's going on, what went wrong, and how can we help? Like, how can we try to fix, what's going wrong to, correct, behavior or some other disease or disorder. So as a field, the neuroscience field kind of explores how the physical brain underlies cognition and behavior. So if you, take a peek in our neuroscience labs here at Carleton, typically you'll find, we're in there doing some manipulation to the brain, and then we kind of sit back and observe behavior changes. And then we can make inferences on how the brain works, and that better informs us if and when things go wrong, how can we help correct that? Okay. So the field of neuroscience has evolved, and it continues to evolve. I think nowadays it's heading more towards computational neuroscience and using AI and modeling, how the brain works and learning works and all of that fun stuff. So it is continuing to evolve. And it's very multidisciplinary in nature. Neuroscience is a really, it's kind of this unique field because there's biology involved, there's chemistry involved, there's physics involved, there's computer science, more recently involved. Obviously, psychology is a foundation of neuroscience. So it's kind of like in the middle, and it pulls a little bit from all of these other faculties. So very multidisciplinary in nature. One thing that I love to highlight is that Carleton University was the first a university to offer a standalone undergraduate neuroscience program. So we're the first in the country. That's something that we're very proud of. It feels, kind of just like yesterday we launched our programs. But actually the department was founded in 2010, and then the neuroscience undergraduate programs were launched in 2012. So we're at the 10-year anniversary. We're actually supposed to do a big celebration, sometime soon when the pandemic ends, to kind of celebrate, how far we've come in the last 10 years. So again, it's the only standalone undergraduate. Sorry, it was the first standalone undergraduate neuroscience program in our country. It's no longer the only, but it's certainly one of few. And something I think special and unique about our programs is that they were designed by active neuroscientists. So these programs were designed by folks working in the field, and they were designed for people interested in neuroscience. So it's kind of like it was designed by real neuroscientists, and it's aimed at potential neuroscientists like you folks. Okay, so again, you probably know all this. I won't spend too much information going through the nitty-gritty details of our programs. There's a few things that I want to highlight. First, we have two separate kind of streams, two separate programs that students can apply to and register in. The first and probably the most popular is the Neuroscience and Mental Health program. And so the Neuroscience and Mental Health program is very cool because you can kind of tailor it to your own specific interests. Like neuroscience is a really big field. Are you interested in, substance use and addiction, or Parkinson's disease, or Alzheimer's disease, or, on and on and on. And so the field is really large. And our neuroscience and mental health program has sort of this built-in flexibility that allows you to kind of pick and choose your courses based on your specific interests. So it's kind of like a tailored degree in a way. Of course, there's, standard courses that everybody has to take. But there's a lot of like all of this white space that you're seeing here on this slide is like freedom for you. This is room for you to kind of start filling in all of these blanks with classes that you are interested in. And then so at the end of this program, we can have two students who graduate from our neuroscience and mental health program, but they've kind of developed a very kind of different area of expertise, if you will, right? One person might have really kind of focused their degree on substance use and addiction. That's my area of interest, by the way. So you'll hear me use that as an example a lot, where others might focus on, indigenous mental health or something like this, right? So both students would have a degree in neuroscience and mental health, but kind of their bread and butter, their area of expertise might look very different. The other nice thing about the neuroscience and mental health program is that there is room for a minor. And this is something I'm seeing more and more students take advantage of. So a lot of our students will, be majoring in neuroscience and mental health, but they'll minor in computer science or religion or music or Spanish or, whatever else their heart desires. And that is not true with our other programs. So getting a little ahead of myself, but our second program is called the Neuroscience and Biology Combined Honors. And in that one, you actually don't have room to take a minor. So I'll talk a little bit about that next. So what does your life look like if you were to get accepted and register in our program? So your first year, honestly, is very similar to all other science students. Really, there's not much difference, except for we offer these introductory neuroscience courses. Obviously, that's very specific to neuroscience. But aside from our introductory neuroscience courses, in first year, you're taking your bio, chem, physics, and then math. Okay. If you are not a math person, just know that you only have to take math once, right? So you take calculus and linear algebra in your very first year. And then if you so choose, you never have to take math again. I think that's like a selling point to our program. We don't like force feed you math. But we do have to establish some type of a foundation. So we kind of rip that Band-Aid off in first year, and then you move through the rest of our program without actually requiring any more math. So that's really good. I'm actually going to pull up the chat and just keep an eye and make sure that I'm not missing any questions. Okay. What else? So that's your first year. We have introductory neuroscience courses. We hit you with a really heavy dose of neuroscience right out of the gate. So we talk about neuropsychiatric disorders, neurodegenerative disorders. We highlight what exactly is going on in the brain. How does that result in the clinical symptoms that we see? We talk about, treatment and management options, and it really gives you a good dose, good exposure to the field of neuroscience right away, like from the first week of our program. In second and third year, we start to dive a little bit deeper into kind of the details. So, biochemistry, fundamentals of genetics, etc. Cellular and molecular neuroscience is a really popular course. We zoom right into the individual neurons, the individual brain cells, and we kind of unpack them. How do they work? What's their job? What's their roles and responsibilities? And so that is a kind of a really fun course. In third year, there's a few highlights that I should point out. First, well, this is my course, so of course I'm biased about this. 3204 is a course called neuropharmacology. So this is a course that I teach where we kind of go through all the various drug classes. Alcohol, cannabis, cocaine and the amphetamines, opioids, psychedelic drugs. And we kind of take a look at what these drugs are actually doing to the brain, and then, of course, how that influences behavior. So I would say this is a very kind of popular and very fun course because it's very relevant and kind of timely. Also in third year, we have teaching labs. Okay, so in third year, we actually get you into the lab. I'll talk a little bit about our labs in a second. We live in a brand new building, like literally brand new. It's still kind of under construction, state-of-the-art labs and equipment. And so we get our students into the labs, like doing things, hands-on learning, slicing up brains, looking at them under a microscope, quantifying proteins or receptors expressions in different brain regions. So really kind of applicable hands-on stuff. And that gives you a really good feel of like, is this something I want to do for the rest of my life? Like, is neuroscience research for me? And I think that it's, very, very exciting experiential learning opportunities here. And then in fourth year, we have our capstone project. So the undergraduate neuroscience thesis, where all students who are eligible will work with a faculty member. So myself, or I think we have 16 or 17 faculty now. So students will kind of approach a faculty member. They'll pair up with a faculty member, and they'll work on a project over an entire year. It's kind of like independent learning where, of course, you have a supervisor, but the students are like in the lab running their own experiments, collecting data, analyzing that data, and then at the end you submit a report. And that's it. And then you're kind of done. So that's a very quick snapshot of what the 4-year program looks like. You'll notice here it says year 4 or 5. So the reason that there's a potential 5th year is because you can do co-op. And if you do co-op, you essentially take a break from the course load that we're looking at here. You go into the workplace, whether you work for Health Canada or a pharmaceutical company or something like this. And so you work for a full calendar year, and then you come back and kind of pick up your studies where you left off. So it adds a 5th year. And I'm happy to talk more about co-op options. It's not for everybody, but I actually do like to encourage my students to take advantage of the co-op because it's really good work experience. Yes, it adds another year to your program, but honestly, that year flies by so quickly that most people don't even notice. So we can talk a little bit more about co-op next. Anything else? Okay, so that's the Neuroscience and Mental Health program. Our second program, again, we have 2 programs, Neuroscience and Mental Health. And then this is actually an out-of-date title. It says BSc Neuroscience Honors. It's now called the Neuroscience and Biology Combined Honors Program. And honestly, as the name would suggest, it's like biology and neuroscience mashup. Okay. So if you really like biology and you really like neuroscience, this is definitely the program for you. You get a really healthy dose of both biology, microbiology, etc., and neuroscience. There's pros and cons, right, to both of these programs. I think one of the pros of the neuroscience and mental health program, which we just finished talking about, is that you have the space and the flexibility to kind of tailor your program. In the combined honors program, you really don't have any space to start tailoring your degree, because it's like there's so many neuroscience and biology courses that you must take. Okay. So again, it's if you're interested in neuroscience and biology, this is definitely the course for you. You get a lot more lab, kind of hands-on lab experience, because you're doing both biology labs and neuroscience labs. And then what you sacrifice is, the space to do a minor, for example, or the space to, kind of tailor your degree towards a specific interest that you have. Okay, so in the Neuroscience and Biology Combined Honors Program, first year is identical. There is no difference at all. You have your introductory neuroscience courses. I guess I should tell you what these are: the neuroscience of mental health and psychiatric disease. So in this course, we'll talk about schizophrenia, anxiety, depression, addiction, things like this. And then in the neuroscience of mental health and neurological disorders, which is, I actually teach this class myself, and we talk about kind of like the big neurodegenerative disorders: Parkinson's, Huntington's, Alzheimer's, et cetera, et cetera. So again, first year, no difference in our two programs. You take your introductory neuroscience courses, and then your bio, chem, physics, and math. And then you see these programs start to diverge a little bit in second and third year. So again, all of the same neuroscience courses are there, but now there's a lot more biology and well, here there's organic chemistry that you must take in second year. And again, in third year, there's some biology courses that you must take to graduate from this program. Okay. So, and in these mandatory courses, it basically just means like you don't have an option. You have to take that course, where in the neuroscience and mental health program, it's like an empty spot for a free elective. So you can start hand picking the courses that you want to take. So again, it's just kind of different strokes for different folks, whatever you're interested in. Both programs offer you a really solid foundation of neuroscience. Both programs offer you really great experiential learning and hands-on involvement in the labs. So yeah, so I think they both offer some really good things. Okay, so so maybe you're sitting there with an offer, you've already heard me go on this spiel about the programs, this might be stuff that you already know, and you're thinking like, why in the world would I ever accept this and decide to attend Carleton Neuroscience? So I would like to start this by just kind of bragging about our students. Our students are incredible. Year in and year out, I'm blown away by the quality of students that we attract. We have things that are specific to the neuroscience programs that I'd like to highlight here. So one is called the peer mentorship program. This is something that we've done relatively recently, and it has a lot to do with actually the pandemic. As you all know, we've been forced to kind of switch to this virtual world, and we found that students were struggling to kind of connect and engage with the program. We felt kind of very disconnected from our students in this online world. So we launched this mentorship program where now all of our incoming students are paired up with like an upper year student. And so they're basically given or assigned like a mentor. And so if you're coming into our program, you are immediately like introduced to a student in either second, third, or fourth year who has kind of been around the block, experienced everything that you're about to experience. And it's a really good opportunity for you to lean on these, your fellow students, ask for advice. ask about getting involved in research, ask about scholarships, ask about study habits. It's like whatever you're dealing with, or whatever issues you might face, or maybe that's not issues, it's just curiosity, and you want to kind of meet people in the program. We've kind of built in those connections. This peer mentorship program has been working extremely well. So that's definitely something that I think is worth mentioning. Our students are very committed to our program, even when they graduate and leave. I am actually a product of this program. I took neuroscience at Carleton. Seems like a long time ago, and so I'm kind of an example of this. But once our students graduate, they go out in the world and they do all kinds of amazing things. There's students in med school. There's students kind of working their way up in the pharmaceutical industry. There's students in nonprofit sector, all over the place. But we stay connected with them. And what this means for you, for any prospective students, is like, you have access to this professional network where when you get to third and fourth year and you're wondering, geez, what's next? What am I going to do with my life after I graduate? We have all of these kind of bridges and connections with people that are in the workforce, that are actually, doing this for a career or a living. And they're always happy to connect and engage with our students. So we have a really, really strong and powerful professional network. And then I would just say, like, the buy-in and the engagement from our students is top notch. It's really second to none. Our students are incredible. They're always hosting events, extracurricular activities, trying to engage everyone, build a sense of community. University's hard. Adjusting to university life is a challenge for a lot of people. So our students, and again, this is all on our students. They've kind of banded together, and they form a really nice community to kind of help everyone get through it. So I think our students are the best in the university. That being said, we have a student-centered faculty. We hire people based on fit and their ability to mentor and to teach and to have kind of research excellence. So something that we always say kind of behind the scenes in the Department of Neuroscience is that we hire for both research and teaching excellence. It's really important to us that all of our faculty have both. So when you're taking neuroscience courses, it's being taught by someone who is working in the field, who's current, who's contributing, and who kind of knows the ins and outs of the field of neuroscience, but also who is really invested in mentoring students, teaching students, and kind of seeing them go on and accomplish all of their dreams. So we really do have student-centered faculty, where all of our faculty are very engaged in kind of that mentorship role, and also research excellence at the same time. And that's essentially teaching and research excellence. I just kind of mentioned that. Location. So we have a brand new building. I think there was supposed to be a picture of the building here. I have no idea why it's not there, but so you'll have to just take my word for it. Our building is so new that we kind of joke and say it's still under construction. Not the neuroscience floors, but there are parts of the building that are still kind of seeing the finishing touches. So we're in the health sciences building on the Carleton campus. If you're ever there, pop in, see it, check it out for yourself. I think we're doing lab tours next week. So a great opportunity to get a little tour of our facilities and see what it's all about. But it's all bunch of natural light. It's brand new, state-of-the-art equipment. The neuroscience department occupies the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th floor of this building. And so that's where we live. So it's a really kind of great, fun place to be. Location. It really does make a big difference. Oh, there it is. I knew I had pictures in here. So this is our building. This is our lecture hall. It's kind of funny. It looks like we have a student in there really freaking out. So I don't know what's going on there, but we have a really kind of gorgeous lecture hall. It is right in our building. So if you're working in the labs, you literally just go downstairs, you sit in this auditorium for whatever course that you're taking. These are our labs. They're brand new and state of the art. honestly, they don't look like this anymore because they're like lived in. And if you went there today, there's a bit of a hustle and a bustle there, right? There's undergraduate students and graduate students and research faculty, and there's a lot of work being done in these labs. So it is much busier and more lively than what you can see in these pictures. But you can see that it's kind of just nice and bright and clean and very spacious, and we've just filled these labs with modern state-of-the-art equipment. So I think our location is definitely a selling point for our programs. Our faculty is extremely diverse, passionate, and again, student-centered. We don't really hire faculty that aren't interested in mentoring students and kind of teaching students everything that we know. I often joke with my students, like when we finish a course, I'll say like, you now know everything I know. Like everything in my brain, I have just downloaded to you, and hopefully you can take that information and like just keep pushing the boundaries. That's what it's all about. The reason I put all of our faculty up here is really kind of just to highlight that there's such a broad scope of the work that we do. So you get into the neuroscience program, you probably don't really know exactly what you're interested in, and you kind of have to experience it a little bit in order to know that, hey, this is something that I'm very interested in. I always say to my students, you don't know what you don't know, right? Like you might have a passion for addictions research like I do, but you don't know because we've never sat down and talked about it. You've never like gotten involved. So one thing, having this very diverse team of faculty, is you're exposed to all of these different areas of the kind of the field of neuroscience. So I won't go through everyone. I don't want to like bore you and take up your entire day, but Kim Hellmans is a really good colleague of mine. You might have heard Dr. Hellmans talk in the general science session. So I think she opened it up. She's an associate dean for the Faculty of Science, but she's also in the Department of Neuroscience. So Dr. Hellmans and I do a lot of work looking at particularly cannabis use, substance use at large, but particularly we're interested in cannabis use and how that affects things like mental health or even academic success in undergraduate students. So we actually do our research on students, both at Carleton University and across the country. But so Dr. Hellmans is always a very popular faculty member. Who else? Sean Haley. Dr. Haley is probably one of the world's leading researchers in Parkinson's disease. So he's world renowned, and he's kind of like a rock star everywhere he goes. Dr. Zul Morali, it was like a mentor to me when I was a student, and definitely someone that has helped me out a lot and someone that I look up to. Dr. Morali was the former CEO of the Royal Mental Health Hospital here in Ottawa. I don't know where all of you are in the world right now, but we have a really kind of famous mental health hospital here in Ottawa, and Dr. Morali spent, I don't know, a decade running that hospital, and then he came over and joined our department. So we're really, really lucky to have him. And he's great. Alfonso, if you couldn't guess by the French fries, he does a lot of work on like feeding and energy homeostasis. You might think, how is that related to the brain? Well, actually, as it turns out, the brain controls all of these things, right? The brain controls your appetite, how much food you eat, where you store that energy. So things like obesity and diabetes are very much regulated by the brain. So Dr. Alfonso Abseid studies that. Okay, so I said I wasn't going to go through, so I better stop because I'll just end up highlighting all of my great colleagues. Here is just kind of a list of some of the different areas of research that we work in. So again, it's like if you're getting into our program, there's many avenues of neuroscience that you can pursue or choose to explore. And this is probably not a comprehensive list, but just to give you kind of a taste. So stress and mental health and stress and resilience, I think, are really big components of our department, of the type of work that we do. Concussion, so the chair of the neuroscience department does a lot of work on sport-related concussions, looking at student athletes, hockey players, football players, soccer players, rugby players. What happens to their brain when they're kind of getting these repeated, blows to the head. So that I think that's a really cool area of research. I mentioned Indigenous health and Indigenous mental health. I mentioned Parkinson's disease. We also have a really famous pain researcher who is looking at like cannabinoid receptor expression in the spinal cord and seeing if that can be used as a therapeutic target to treat pain and chronic pain, trying to move away from using opioids to treat pain and kind of exploring different ways that we can treat pain. So all of these different areas and all this translates to opportunities for our students, right? So I've listed here some really good opportunities that our students have access to, can take advantage of. So just you can volunteer in these research labs. You can say, hey, I'm really interested in concussions or addiction or whatever. Can I get involved? Like I'll help out, I'll do whatever you want me to do. So we have a lot of student volunteers working in the labs. Like right now, if you went to Carleton right now, you would see student volunteers working in the labs. There are a lot of paid internship opportunities too. So I mentioned you could volunteer for a lab, but also there's opportunities to get paid to work in the lab. So we have like the Dean Summer Research Internship. And so this is like, we would bring in students over the summer and they're actually like working full time in the lab and they're getting paid. So it's kind of like that's their summer job. They're getting research experience. They're learning more about neuroscience. It's a really great opportunity. The iCurious is kind of the same thing, although it doesn't have to happen in the summer. It could also happen in the fall and in the winter. But it's called the Internship Carleton University Research Experience for Undergraduate Students, or the iCurious Award. So again, students apply to the iCurious, they get paired up with the faculty, they work in the lab doing actively conducting research, and they get paid to be there. So really fantastic opportunities for our students there. What's next? I kind of already mentioned this, so I won't spend too much time here, but I just want to, again, I just want to emphasize that we take teaching very seriously. We don't hire faculty that don't excel in teaching or research. So again, we're always saying teaching excellence and research excellence. We have to have both. So we have a faculty of really fantastic teachers that want to be there, that want you to be there, that love hearing your questions and engaging in discussions, and kind of the banter that goes on in a classroom is that's probably the favorite part of my job, to be honest. So I love hearing about your experiences and what this stuff means to you and how you contextualize these things. And then, I'll bring kind of the theoretical or foundational knowledge, but our students bring like the real world living experience, and then it's a nice mashup inside the classroom. So again, we really take teaching very seriously. And this is just, I guess this slide is bragging, to be honest. It's all the awards we have. Won Capital Educators Awards. We have Faculty of Science Teaching Awards year in and year out. We have teaching in one of our faculty just got a humongous teaching innovation grant to equip one of our classrooms with EEG helmets. So if you don't know, it's like you put on this helmet and there's all these electrodes that record brain activity. And we're going to be able to do this in a classroom while students are like learning or speaking or engaging in a behavior. So anyways, I could brag for hours and hours about how just fantastic our faculty is, and how much they really do love teaching. Also, I'm looking at the slide and it's like, someone needs to take better pictures of me, because every time they take a picture of me, I'm like, my mouth is open, I look strange. So I'm gonna have to edit this picture. But that's me there in one of our lectures. I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I think it was probably pretty cool. Our students, I really started this talk, highlighting the strength of our students, and I want to go back to it again. I think our students are absolutely incredible. It's really fun watching them just buy into our program, kind of put everything they have into it, and then most importantly, like where they go after. It's really kind of fun for me to see these students progress over 4 or 5 years with us, and then they are now like doing amazing things. They're making policies for the government, or they're contributing to the research world. So it's kind of a very a proud thing to watch our students go on and do different things. So I put this picture up here because this is showing a lot of activities that our students run. This has nothing to do with me or the faculty. This is really a lot of student-led things. I think this is a picture from our Christmas party. So our students hold like a kind of like a formal Christmas party every year. Of course, the pandemic kind of stalled those plans, but historically this is something that we've done every year. Our students do like yoga days, and our students are getting interviewed on the morning news channels because of some of the incredible things that they're doing. So it's a very kind of welcoming and very fun place to be a student, because you're kind of integrated into this culture, this community, where everyone is there to support each other. And it's very diverse. Like, it's amazing because we're pulling students from literally all over the world, and then they converge like in the Department of Neuroscience. And it's just a great way to kind of meet new people and learn new ways of life. And then kind of go on this journey with these people over the 4 years of our program. So again, and normally, we would have students here to kind of tell you this themselves, but it's Saturday, it's the middle of March, it's midterm season. We decided to give our students a break for this one. But it would be great, actually, if you were in the general science opening session, Jordan is one of our students, and I watched that session for a bit, and I thought she was great. So there are opportunities to reach out and speak to our students if that is something that you're interested in. This is just, again, more highlighting some of our student activities. And this is something that maybe you could follow along with if you're just kind of want to observe from afar before you make any hard decisions about coming to our program or where you're going to go. I would encourage you to start following some of these social media channels. So at CU Neuro Society, this is the Carleton Neuroscience Society. This is an undergraduate student society. So again, nothing to do with me or the faculty. This is 100% our students. They do this. They run trivia nights. They run like career panels. They run all kinds of coffee with a prof is one that I participated in, where so this is the Carleton Neuroscience Society organized like an event where myself and a few other profs like just went to a coffee shop, and students could just come very informally, very casually, and just ask questions about the program or careers or research or whatever. So just opportunities to engage with fellow students and faculty. Brain Awareness Week is actually this week coming up. So Brain Awareness Week is like your typical March break, and our students go out to local high schools around the Ottawa area and basically teach them about the brain. It's always a really big hit. We will like bring real brains into these high school classrooms, and the kids, it's not just high school, actually, it's elementary school as well. And the kids will just, their mind is blown. And so it's a really kind of fun way to interact with the community. Neuroscience and Mental Health Art Show is another student-run activity. There was the Neuro Prom, usually at the end of each year. I mentioned the Christmas party. So again, these are all student-led initiatives. And again, it just goes to show you how great our students really are. Okay, so I'm almost done here, and then I'll stop talking and be happy to answer any questions. This is probably the most common question that I get. Where do I go when I graduate from your program, right? Like what potential careers can I get with a degree in neuroscience? So this is actually something we've started tracking a lot more closely over the past couple of years. There was a time, when I was a student in this program, probably couldn't answer that question, but over the last couple of years, we've realized like we should probably track our students and really kind of understand where they're all going, so that we can answer questions to prospective students like you who are really and rightfully so really interested in like what career paths can I get. So I would say about 25% of our students continue on in science. So we have a lot of students that go on to do clinical research. So going to do research in like a hospital setting or something like that, or get jobs as research scientists. So, being a research scientist for Health Canada, or staying in academia, right? A lot of our students will go on to do a master's and a PhD. That's the route that I took. So I kind of stayed in the field of science. About 20% of our students end up in healthcare. So I would say med school is probably the number one thing that I hear from our students. And I actually think there was a question which may or may not have already been answered. Is neuroscience a good as a pre-med? I would say yes. My wife actually also graduated from this program, and she is now a family doctor here in Ottawa. So that is just a kind of a real world example from my life of one of our former students actually using the neuroscience program as a stepping stone, I suppose, to med school. It is a science program, and we cover all of the basics of science, and then we kind of build on that foundation. So I think it does put you in a really, really good position to get into med school. Of course, I don't want to like be naive. It's hard to get into med school, right? It's just really, really hard. And so we can't say like, hey, if you come into our program, you're guaranteed to get into med school. Like that's just not true. You really have to do a lot of work to be competitive to get in med school, but absolutely our program can be considered like a pre-med in a way. Again, we try to stay away from advertising it as pre-med because in our experience, when we call it pre-med, students think, oh, okay, so I just do your program and then I'm guaranteed to get in medical school. And again, that's just not the case. It's very, very competitive, as you already know. Okay, where was I? Yeah, so 20% of our students go into healthcare. So again, I'd say med school is the number one goal for most of our students. But actually, recently, we've had a lot of students go into speech pathology and occupational therapy. So for some reason, this is becoming a very popular career path. And I'm seeing more and more of our students go into physical therapy or occupational therapy, which is pretty cool. And then 20% of our students pursue graduate studies. So again, they kind of stay in academia. They go on to do their master's and or a PhD, either in neuroscience or otherwise. And I see both of these things happen. So I see our students go on to do like a master's in neuroscience. And so obviously everything you learned is very transferable to a master's in neuroscience. But I also see a lot of our students going into masters that are not related to neuroscience. And this is really cool because what they've told me is, when you're in a neuroscience program, it's like everyone knows neuroscience and you don't really like stand out because we all know the same stuff. But if you were to go into a computer science program or something, all of a sudden, like you're the neuroscience kid and you're the person bringing the expertise of the brain. And so a lot of our students are actually going into other fields and bringing that neuroscience lens. Again, neuroscience is very multidisciplinary. So it can apply to all of these different fields. It doesn't really have to be science or neuroscience specific. But that kind of neuroscience lens or neuroscience knowledge is actually very practical and helpful in other fields. Other known positions include knowledge brokers. So this is like science communication. I honestly think this is like the next wave of really popular career choices is in like science communication. I mean, we need people to inform our policymakers and decision makers of what the science says, right? Like what does the evidence say? What do we know about the brain? How does this affect policy? So we need people that are really good at communicating these things. And I think that's a very real career opportunity or potential career opportunity. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of an idea. I think on the next slide, I will promote the Carleton Neuroscience Alumni. So again, this is something we've taken very seriously over the last couple of years, where we're starting to track our alumni. And so, so go visit this page, see for yourself what career opportunities are out there or what our students are going on to do. So we're really trying to highlight some of our graduates, really for this purpose, so that you can say, oh, this is a possible avenue or career path, right? But it's like real world examples with real people. So go check out our alumni page if that's something you're interested in. Okay, I'm running out of time here. The last a couple of things I want. Well, this is the last slide actually. So I just wanted to mention co-op. So we do have a co-op option for our program. I mentioned it earlier. Typically, co-op occurs between your third and fourth year. So you would enter the program. You do your first, second, and third year just like everyone else. Nothing changes. Nothing's different. And then you take a break from your coursework and you go do your co-op position for a full year. The co-op is split into 3 semesters, so you kind of have some options. You can do the exact same placement 3 semesters in a row. So I think we heard in the general opening remarks for this event, I heard one of the students say that they just stayed in the same position for 3 semesters in a row. So they really liked it, they enjoyed it, and they did 1 co-op placement for a year. You don't have to do that though. You can like try your feet in different things, right? So you can maybe do 3 different co-op placements to get more of a kind of a broader experience and kind of learn, what is potentially interesting to you or what is not. So yes, there's a little bit of flexibility there. The other thing I think is really good to highlight for Carleton's co-op is, okay, so Carleton, the co-op office has like a whole menu of options that you can choose from. Okay, so you can go into the co-op office and you can say, I have no idea what I want to do for co-op. What are my options? And they'll have a whole list and they'll sit down and talk with you about your interests and what you might want to do and what's cool and what's not cool. And then based on that, they can kind of hone it into like a short list of opportunities. So they've essentially done all of the work for you and you just like select from a list. That's great. But there's also the opportunity where if a student like really wants a co-op at a specific company or government agency or something that they really have their sights set on, you can bring that information to the co-op office and say, hey, I really want to work for this biotech company. And then the Carleton Co-op office will actually reach out and try to set that up for you. So you kind of have the best of both worlds. It's like they'll give you a menu of options to choose from, but also you can do the digging and really kind of like hand select where you want to do your co-op. And the co-op office will do everything in their power to make it happen. So I think that's really cool about the Carleton Co-op. And again, it gives you research, it gives you experience, work experience or research experience. And I think you're just that much more competitive when you graduate, right? So, but again, it adds that 5th year. So a lot of students that kind of turns them off right away. Honestly though, I would argue like that extra year is probably a good thing. Like to delay your graduation by a year is might actually help you more than hurt you. So anyway, something to consider. It does add an extra year. Typically it happens between 3rd and 4th year. And we can talk more about that if you want. Okay, so that's it. That's all I have. I feel like I'm losing my voice. I'm talking too much today already. So I'm going to switch my attention to the questions here and see if there's anything I can answer. Okay, good morning. Okay, it looks like Millie answered that one. Unanswered. Oh, I see. Okay, so is there a combined neuroscience and biochem program? No, I had to think about that so that was Antonia that asked that. No, there is no neuroscience and biochem program, although the neuroscience and biology program has a really kind of healthy dose of biochem. So if you actually go and look at the program maps, and I can send that to you. You can just email me and I can send you the program maps. You'll see that there's a mandatory biochemistry course in second, third, maybe fourth year. I can't remember off the top of my head. And then there's also, in the combined honors program, I was kind of exaggerating a bit where I said there's like no flexibility. There's a little bit of flexibility, just not that much. And so you do have free electives you can take in the combined honors program. And so you could target additional biochemistry courses if that's something you're interested in. But one thing I should say about that is there's not enough room to build a minor in biochemistry. Where if you compare that to the neuroscience and mental health program, there is enough freedom and flexibility there where you could actually do a minor in biochem. So maybe that would be the closest to a neuroscience and biochem combined program. It would be like a major in neuroscience and mental health and a minor in biochemistry. I hope that answers your question. Is co-op available for international students too? Yes, it is. Although that looks like it's answered. So I will skip that one. Okay. Do you know how much of the med school pre-requirements are already featured in the neuroscience program? I think it's everything but organic chem. Okay. So who asked that? Eva Maria. So all of the programs that you like have to take, you have no choice to take them if you're in the neuroscience and mental health programs, that will check all of the boxes except one, which is organic chemistry. That's like a painful course that, that it's kind of like a rite of passage. Everyone has to go through organic chem at some point. And so you can fill one of your free electives with organic chem. There's lots of opportunities to do that in the neuroscience and mental health program. You can do it in second year or in third year. And as long as you tick that organic chemistry box, then you'll have everything that you need. I should also say that there's a lot of like preparing for med school events, workshops, information sessions, etc. So I know it seems like very complicated and there's so much to know and remember, but it's like once you're in the program, these opportunities they'll smack you right in the face. They're impossible to miss. And you like go to these information sessions and they say, this is exactly what you need to do to make sure you're eligible or make sure that you're competitive. So all of those details, we obviously provide information on them as we go along. And then Antonia said, okay, cool. Sorry, I didn't hear very well. Where can I message you? Oh, I'll put my email address in here. You can also just go to the neuroscience website and find me on there at any time. But I'll type my email address in here. It's zachary.patterson@carleton.ca. I hope that worked. Just make sure I didn't put a typo in there, zachary.patterson@carleton.ca. So that's my email address. And this is true for any of you. If you ever want to ask questions about our program, if you want to like set up a one-on-one Zoom session for 5 minutes or 10 minutes to talk more in depth about our program, please reach out to me. Honestly, I'm very, very happy to meet with all of you, answer any questions that you have. I know how these events work. Like there's so much going on. You like forget to ask a question or you don't even know what the question that you have is. And then like the moment I sign off, all of these questions will pop into your head. So please do not hesitate. Don't feel shy to send me an email directly. And I'm happy to answer your questions. Again, we have lab tours next week. So if anything I've said has like piqued your interest, even the slightest, please come visit us next week. We'll bring you into the labs. We can meet you and answer any questions that you have, but we can take you in a tour in our facilities, kind of show you what we're working with. And I promise you, you'll be impressed. It's a really cool place to be. Did I miss any other questions? Just scanning. Answered. I think that's it. Okay. So I think we're done. I think this session ends at 11 anyways. So we're pretty much at the finish line. I'm not going anywhere. I'll stay here until 11. So if you have any questions, just fire them into the chat. Also, I am going to leave this presentation and I'm going to go back into the neuroscience booth. I don't really know how to get there. I'm going to figure it out. But I'll be hanging out in the booth for a little while after this. So again, if a question pops into your head, you can come to the neuroscience booth and I'd be happy to carry on the conversation there.
Excellent. Thank you all so much. If you do have any other questions, specifically about applications, we have some folks at the admissions services table who can answer your questions. We also have lots of other services available too. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about what's going on today, you're welcome to do that. And you can message any one of us with a Carleton picture if you have questions. Thank you so much for coming today. And thank you so much, Dr. Patterson.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, Millie, for setting this up and making sure I was on track. I appreciate it. Have a good day, everyone. I really hope you enjoy the rest of the event. I know it's overwhelming, but give yourself a break and try to enjoy it. And again, if you want to find me, I'll be over in the neuroscience booth and happy to answer your questions. So, bye, everyone.